It's already week 2 of the college football season for 2025, and the West Virginia Mountaineers are facing a much tougher test this week as they travel on the road to face the Ohio Bobcats in Athens. First time they will face a non-P4 team in a true road game since they played the Marshall Thundering Herd in Huntington in 2010. We're going to preview the upcoming contest with Ohio and give a brief recap of the game against Robert Morris, and we're going to do it right now. What is up, and welcome into the Gold and Blue Breakdown Show, episode number 42, I believe it is, Jonathan. What's going on tonight, man?
Hey, Couz, it's crazy. Week 2. It is a road game. Something tells me you're going to see a lot of gold and blue in Athens, Ohio on Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. I think I saw somewhere that it's obviously sold out, but they're anticipating one of the biggest crowds in history for this game. So be curious to see how West Virginia handles themselves. They've got to feel pretty good after last week's second half. We'll talk more about that here shortly. But honestly, you're not going to Columbus, but it is going to be a road game. And so I'm excited to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Let's go ahead and jump in and recap last week's game, last week's victory, 45-3 victory over Robert Morris. Obviously, it was an FCS opponent. We have to take that into account. But I thought, you mentioned the second half. All West Virginia had the turnover issues in the first half, put the ball on the ground 4 times in the first half, lost 3 of those. They did end the game also with a fumble, by the way. But that was kind of in garbage time, so it didn't really count, or didn't really matter, rather. But the second half, they came out, cleaned everything up, looked much better. And they did have still a few probably careless penalties, but outside of that, man, I thought they looked much better in the second half and were able to pull away after only leading 10-3 at halftime. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, Kuza, to be honest, man, I wasn't overly surprised. I mean, look, 4 is a lot. But I wasn't overly surprised, and I'll tell you why. We just talked about it, right, last week on our show previewing the game, and one of the key points that we made was overcoming emotion, the anticipation, the early season first game jitters. So we talked about that, and I just felt like that kind of got him a little bit. And it was just silliness. And but I was actually impressed that they were able to turn the page so quickly, because they look like a completely different team. Again, I realize it's Robert Morris, but to just be able to flip the switch that quickly from first half to second half, the teams were completely different. And I think there's a lot to build on. If I would have told you before the game that Nico was going to be 17 for 20 for 224, a touchdown, I think we would have taken that, right? I think if I would have told you Cam Vaughn, 7 catches for a 26 and a touchdown, we would have taken that, right? So a lot to build on. I don't want that first half to overshadow what ended up taking place. And then the last thing I would say is, again, I don't want to be a broken record here, but I realize the level of competition was what it was. But how about Zach Alley's defense? We talked about that as well last week, Couz, that you just needed to see something, right? You needed to see athleticism. You needed to see speed. You need to see physicality. And you could not let a Robert Morris team led by Zach Tanner, who we talked about hadn't really even thrown any passes in his career. They held him to 7 for 21 for 70 yards. That's just over 3 yards of completion. No touchdowns. I think we would have all signed up for a 45-3 win.
Yep.
In that manner.
Absolutely. Yeah, the only thing, fans came away from it a little bit discouraged about the fumbles. But again, man, first game, they cleaned it up. They got better, and that's something that's, like I said in my post-game show, it's very fixable, man. Fumbles is something you can fix. Cam Vaughn, for example, he was holding the ball out here away from his body. You can't do that. But Cam Vaughn is a good player. He'll learn from it, and he'll move on. He wants to do well. He's a young man that is very talented and also loves the game, and he's going to do what he takes to win. And I don't think you'll see him carry the ball like that again. I really don't.
You just have to be you have to be careful because you have seen this with running back specifically. It can become contagious and
Mm-hmm.
it can become mental.
Right.
And so I'm certainly encouraged that we didn't see it in the second half. Um, and I just want to make sure that's not something that is encountered this week. If we see a couple fumbles on the ground this week, especially early on, um, it could be Houston. We have a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to, as we sit here tonight, because of that second half, um, I'm willing to say it was just a freak thing, a lot of energy, some nerves, um, and some jitters that got out of the way.
Yeah. I agree. And maybe some guys pressing, trying a little too hard. You know, that can happen as well.
Yeah, and look, a good point, and I will just quickly say, we've talked about the depth chart. Rodriguez has talked about the depth chart, and he's even said people are still battling for positions here. So it could even be just everybody wanting to make that impression, right? Trying to make that extra play, that extra move, that extra push, and that's fine. Um, but I was actually really encouraged. I walked away from that game encouraged that they were able to flip that so quickly into the second half, and they looked flawless second half.
Agreed. Agreed. Let's go ahead and jump over and start looking ahead. I think most of us have put that game behind us. So, we wanted to kind of put a bow on it, wrap it up, right, tie it up. So let's go ahead and jump ahead to previewing this week's game against Ohio, which is going to be a challenge. Before I do that, though, I do want to say thank you to Appalachia Digital,
Mm.
sponsors of the show, and the designers of WV Sports Chat. You see the logo behind me. That's the site that Jonathan and I, along with some writers, are doing some work at. So go check us out, wvsportschat.com. We're putting articles up every single day, pretty much. Of WVU football, basketball, even baseball. We cover baseball like nobody's business over there. So yeah, support what we're doing over there. Jonathan here, especially works his butt off over there. So go check it out. Um, three keys to the game. What's your first one? Keys to a West Virginia victory.
Well, can I be Captain Obvious?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, Take care of the football. What a segue into my first key. When I started doing some notes on the show, I thought that's just too easy. It's too easy. I can't go that route right out of the gate. Um, but it's so true. Um, four fumbles against Ohio, you lose a football game. Let's just call that what it is. So um, you can't have that. I just said that can be contagious, and it can become mental. So I hate to be Captain Obvious here, but that one I think I can go ahead and you'd probably agree. I'm going to maybe think that's somewhere in yours, even though we don't exchange notes. But yeah, this one is don't beat yourself. Take care of the darn football. The offense proved that they're too good, and the defense is going to keep you in some games. If last week is any indication of what we're going to see, this week will be a different test, I think. But you can't shoot yourself in the foot, and so take care of the football. I'll get the obvious out of the way.
You did it. Now, I actually did not put that one down, Jonathan, believe it or
Oh,
not. So we're not, uh,
okay.
I'm going to let you have that one. My first thing that comes to mind was actually containing Parker Navarro, man. Parker Navarro is going to get some yards. Okay. He's going to make
Yeah,
some plays. He's just that good. He was 9 for 93 rushing the ball last week, right? Not to
yeah,
mention he had over, I think, 200 and some yards throwing the football with, I think, 3 touchdowns, right? So he can throw it too. He threw the ball for over 2,400 yards last year, in addition to rushing for over 1,000 yards. He averaged 6.5 yards per carry. He's averaged 6.5 yards per carry in his career. That includes sacks, by the way. So he can run the football. He's extremely dangerous, especially on busted plays when he's scrambling. That's when he does most of his damage. He's averaging over 9 yards a carry in those situations, or at least that's what he averaged in 2024. So that is something that West Virginia has got. I don't know if they're going to put a spy on him. I don't know if they're going to try to
yeah,
make sure they sit. You've got to make sure you seal the edges, obviously. Try to keep him inside the pocket as much as possible. But then you do that, he busts a run up the middle on you, right? So
yeah.
he can beat you so many different ways. He's really good in the read option game.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's such a good dual threat, man, I don't know how they do it. I'm not smart enough to say how they do it, but some way they have got to at least limit Parker Navarro in the run game. They cannot let him run all over him like he did last week and does most weeks. To be honest with you, he's the
Yeah.
key to that game. To me, if Ohio wins the game, it's because he had an absolute field day on West Virginia.
Yeah, I agree, and I might as well just go ahead and say, my second one was contain Parker Navarro, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a twist on that. I've got contain Parker Navarro, but inside the red zone, and I'll tell you why. Shout out to Golden Blue Nation. Ryan Decker was doing some studying on this game the other day, and I came across this. Because last year, 17 of Parker Navarro's rushing touchdowns, 17 of his 18 rushing touchdowns were inside the red zone. So,
Great research there.
so when he's inside the 20, he is extremely effective. He's a dual threat. You went through all of his stats. They don't need repeated. He's extremely talented. Because he was tied for 10th most nationally among all players, fourth most among FBS last year with 18 rushing touchdowns, 17 of those inside the red zone. So I'll piggyback on yours and say that containing Parker Navarro as a whole is important, but specifically because the numbers show that once he's inside the red zone, not only is he effective, but Ohio really likes to run him. And some of those outside of the pocket scrambling. So you hit the nail on the head. Are they going to spine? What's their defensive plan? Something tells me, because Jacksonville State played Ohio last year in a bowl game. Now, Rich Rodriguez obviously had left by that time, but I think they've got a pretty good idea of what they want to do with him already. They're going to probably get some more film off of Rutgers last week. So I'm going to say contain Parker Navarro. I agree with you, but a little bit of twist inside the red zone.
I like the bolt on there. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I had not went. That's one thing I had not studied was his red zone efficiency. Um, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I did look at some red zone stuff, but it wasn't him running the football. But anyway, let's go. My second key is be balanced on offense, and a couple reasons I say that. Number one, I think you can have success running the football against this team. We saw Rutgers do it right up the middle. Most of their success was right up the middle, up the A gap, on the right side most of the time. Now, can West Virginia's O-line get as much push as Rutgers O-line did? We don't know. Yet to be determined. They did not get as much push as you'd like to see them get last week against an FCS team, but they did do better in the second half. Can they get Jaheim White to the second level? If they can do that, West Virginia can – I mean, Jaheim White could have an absolute field day because we know how good he is at making people miss. And I feel like if he does that, he will have a great day because they didn't tackle well last week. Their tackling grade was only like 54.7.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is an advantage to West Virginia in the run game, especially with Jaheim. But that being said, I got a feeling they might also try to load the box up.
Yeah,
which means West Virginia can utilize the pass game more. Use Cam Vaughn in the pass game, Jaden Bray, and others. And oh, by the way, they also didn't cover the pass very well last week. Ohio didn't. 41.2 coverage grade against Rutgers. So they will give up some big pass plays. At least they did a week ago. And I feel confident that Nico can, or whoever plays quarterback, we assume it's Nico, can take advantage of that situation. So, but I think West Virginia is good enough offensively, has enough weapons that if they load the box on West Virginia can throw the football.
Yeah.
But I would like to see West Virginia come out with a little bit of a balanced approach anyway, because I think it'll keep that defense honest and they won't know which way to turn. And it also, if there is any deficiencies up front, I think it'll help alleviate a little bit because it'll keep the defense on their heels a little bit. You can utilize the screen game out on the edges, get your playmakers in space, things like that. All of that, it kind of works together in being balanced, in my opinion. I think that's a key to this win as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like you need to get a little bit more out of running the football. I think you're okay with what Nico gave you. I mean, I think they take 220 plus throwing the football. Because I'll be curious to see how West Virginia sprinkles in Jalen Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you see another Scotty Fox sneak in there a little bit? So I've got two thoughts on that. One is it kind of sounds crazy to have a quarterback that's 17 to 20 for 224, and find less playing time, right? But I think we did see that Scotty Fox and Jalen Henderson provided a little bit extra there. I mean, Jalen Henderson's 22-yard run. I don't think anybody's going to forget Scotty Fox's 59-yard touchdown run down the sidelines. So I think you're going to see those two sprinkled in a little bit more. So I think West Virginia is going to throw some wrinkles in. And then the second part of my thought is, at what point do we see a little bit more of Sincere Bowers? Look, Jaheim White is a workhorse. We know that. But Couz Bowers did what Bowers did in JUCO. That's 9 yards per carry. 9 yards per carry. And I'd encourage you to go back and look at his touchdown run down the sidelines because he had speed. And dare I say speed that we haven't seen in West Virginia in a while. And so I'll be curious to see how Rich Rodriguez implements those wrinkles. I think at the end of the day, he went a little bit more bland, especially in the second half once things kind of got away from Robert Morris a little bit. But I think all those lead into being more balanced on the offensive side of the football.
Yep. Agreed. I like it. I like it, man. All right. What's key number 3 for you?
Couz, do you know what's coming up next?
I think so.
And
I think I might have it, but go ahead.
Somebody told me there's a date of 9/13. Somebody told me there's this show on ESPN called College Game Day, and there's this team that's a little bit north of West Virginia, and then somebody told me they call it a backyard brawl or something.
Okay, I know where you're going. And this is not what I thought you were going to say. But keep going.
Don't look ahead. Don't look ahead. Again, I'm not trying to pretend that Ohio is Ohio State. Okay, I think West Virginia. We'll get to the predictions later. I think West Virginia is a better football team. But I think Ohio is a formidable opponent. I think if you roll in there looking ahead, Ohio can beat you. I really believe that. And I know Rich was asked about this in the press conference. He pretty much said, if you're looking ahead, I don't need you. I don't need you. Mm-hmm. You're not fit. You're not a fit here. We take it not. We don't take a game by game. We take a play by play here. Because how can you not?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, listen, these players, they're not immune to this. They're not immune to it. They know. Pat McAfee's talking about it already on his show. You just can't catch yourself looking ahead. You can't catch yourself with a 10-point lead in the third quarter thinking you've got it. You can't be up 14 with 6 minutes to go in the game and think you've got it. You have to focus on this weekend because Ohio can beat you, and all that's for nothing. So just because of what's next, I think you need to be a little bit careful. I would just say don't look ahead. Don't look past Ohio. Be present. Be in the moment. And if you play the way you should take care of business this week, but you cannot be looking ahead.
I almost went that route on one of my keys, but I didn't. And you know why? Because I thought you would go that way.
You know me. Episode 40-something, I think we can kind of read each other by now.
Yeah. And two, I actually feel pretty confident that it won't be an issue for this team, and for two reasons.
I do too, because I don't think Rich is going to let it happen.
Well, 3 reasons, because that's one of them too. I don't think he will. Reason 2, it's a team full of veteran guys, 5th, 6th, even 7th-year seniors in some cases. And 3, majority of the guys aren't really they're new. They've never experienced a rivalry. They probably don't even understand the magnitude of it yet. I don't think they will until Monday,
they win the game.
After they win the game on Sunday or Monday of the following week. which is the 7th or 8th of September, then I think is when they'll start experiencing what that rivalry is all about, at a higher level, right? Especially if game day announces are coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think, obviously you do have some guys like Hammond Russell and Reed Carrico and Rodney Gallagher and, Nico. There are some guys who know the
Right.
rivalry, who have been in the rivalry, but the majority of the team, I mean, that's only what, a third of the team, if that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like they'll be okay, especially with the amount of senior leadership and the fact that Rich Rod will not let it happen. I just don't think he'll let it happen. I think he's so focused on the moment, and I think he drills that into his guys.
Yeah. I agree.
My third key is actually still a little bit of Captain Obvious here, but limit penalties.
Yeah.
We saw them commit way too many penalties in that game the other day. They had, I think it was 9 penalties, most of them pre-snap penalties. When you do that, and when you're trying to run, I think penalties always hurt any team.
Mm-hmm.
But when you run an up-tempo offense like they do, I think it's even more detrimental because it messes up your routine. It messes up your momentum. You know, get you and going back when you're trying to go forward, go forward, go forward, and do it at a fast pace, and boom, you got to go backwards. All it's almost like somebody let the air out of the balloon a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think penalties to a team like West Virginia is probably who likes to go so fast can be a little bit more harmful than penalties for most other teams. So I think in this game, because it does have the feeling of a game that could be really close, and because
Mm-hmm.
Ohio is a really good football team, I think you need to limit penalties and keep putting pressure on that Ohio defense with your offense, which means you can't be going backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I would also probably just throw in not just the playing quickly, but you're still learning a system. You're still learning some plays. You're still trying to implement certain things and figure out personnel. And the last thing you can do, especially on the road, is be playing behind the chains. That cannot happen. And so I completely agree. You're able to get away with certain things like that when you're at home against Robert Morris, but going on the road against a little bit better competition, I completely agree. You just can't hurt yourself in these type situations. So if West Virginia can button some things up, and look, I realize you're going to have a little bit of an issue there. I mean, ideally, you'd like to have 3 or 4 starting linemen returning, a returning quarterback. You're familiar with calls, cadence, and stuff like that. But you just don't have that right now. And so you're going to have to focus extra hard to not have that because you cannot be playing behind the chains.
Yep, 100% correct. Absolutely. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't let one bad leg haunt your parlay. Parlays turn into payouts, and now even near misses won't haunt your bet. The NFL season is here, and college football is now in full swing, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is rewriting the rules with Ghost Leg, a new game-changing promotion that turns close calls into cold, hard cash. Best of all, it's available to all DraftKings customers. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Couz, that's code Couz, C-O-U-Z, to unlock Ghost Leg, the promotion that makes one bad leg disappear and pays you out in real cash. Ghost your losses. Get your payout in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Opt in for single use token. Minimum 3 plus legs and minus 500 odds per leg. Max bet varies. If only one leg of the bet loses, bet will settle as if only the winning legs were placed and pays out in cash based on odds when the bet was placed. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. All right, let's jump ahead to our next topic of discussion, which is 2 key position battles to watch. What you got?
Yeah, so you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, and I actually went a little bit more in just the West Virginia side of things. I need to see a little bit more. I'm specifically watching the West Virginia offensive line. I felt like last week it's twofold. Um, if there was much of a weakness for West Virginia last week, it was that offensive line. There were some penalties. I felt like they were still trying to work some things out. Um, they weren't able to break through on some runs and get Jaheim out. Now, you're correct in saying that it did correct itself a little bit better as the game went on. Maybe that's just because Robert Morris wore down a little bit. Maybe it's because they put some other guys in there. But I think if you're West Virginia, you've got to get that offensive line. That seemed to be a little bit of a weakness, even though they did improve. But Rutgers was able to move the football last week. 100 and almost 50 yards rushing last week. They had three rushers for Rutgers that averaged just over 6 yards or right at 6 yards a carry. So I'd go back to what I said earlier about Sincere Bowers. This is an opportunity for him. It's an opportunity for Jaheim. But West Virginia has to be able to go on the road and establish themselves up front. So that's an area that I'm keeping a very close eye on, that West Virginia offensive line.
Yeah, this is the first part of the show where we actually have the same thing. I've got it down as well. They need to get more push this week than they got last week. They've got to establish the run here with Jaheim, get him going, and if they can do that, I feel like if they can establish the run early in this game and get that up tempo offense churning by the late third, early fourth quarter, that defense is going to be worn out, man, and you're going to be able to almost do what you want to do. But
Yeah,
they've got to establish it early. They've got to get push, and they've also, I mentioned earlier one of my keys. They need to be balanced. Well, in order to do that, you've got to keep Nico upright, or whoever your quarterback is. You've got to keep
yeah,
him upright, keep him clean, so they can make plays in the pass
yeah,
game too, and take advantage of what appears to be a potential weak point, which is the secondary of Ohio. Again, it's only one game in, so it's hard to say it's a weak point, but it appears to be. Um,
yeah.
Based on their week one performance. But you can't exploit that if you're laying on your back, right?
Right.
If you're the quarterback. So keep Nico or whoever the quarterback is clean, establish the run game with Jaheim and the quarterback run game as well. But in order to do that, your offensive line has got to play well. And what will be encouraging if we can see them, they didn't play so good in the first half against Robert Morris. They played better in the second half. If we can see them take another step forward this week, I'll feel a lot better about the trajectory of that offensive line and how good because let's face it, they're going to be 3, 4, 5 games into the season before they start really getting their feet
Yeah,
under them, so to speak, in my opinion, because of the newness of this team,
yeah,
especially up front, because that's the one position group where everybody has to gel like quickly
yeah.
and efficiently and effectively. So I'm like you, the offensive line to me is one of the keys here. And I'll go ahead and give you my second one.
Sure.
We'll reverse it this time, but my second one is West Virginia's linebackers and safeties in coverage against these tight ends for Ohio
Hmm.
because all three of Navarro's touchdown passes were to tight ends,
Yeah,
and all three of at least two of them were in the red zone. He'll where he likes to run the football. These defenses can get tricked into biting, and he'll just flip it right over the top to a tight end,
yeah,
and that's something that these West Virginia linebackers and safeties they've got to have good eye discipline and know where these tight ends are. Mason Williams and Jake Bruno, I think, are their names, but they both had touchdown catches. Bruno actually had two of them in that game against Rutgers.
yeah,
So you've got to know where these guys are at all times and cover them at all times in the pass
yeah,
game.
yeah. Good point. West Virginia seemed to be a little bit more athletic. Seemed to be a little bit more speed. Fred Perry seemed to be all over the field last week.
Yep.
So curious to see where West Virginia goes there, but I completely agree. Um, that's an area where West Virginia, especially from what we talked about earlier, inside that red zone, when things start to bunch up a little bit, how are you going to protect and how are you going to cover schematically? This could be a good challenge for Zach Alley. So curious to see what he dials up. Couz, I'll go with my second point. You kind of semi touched on it. There's a little bit of a weak point with Ohio, at least after week one. Maybe it was that Ohio secondary. Um, I'm going to be watching that secondary versus the WVU receivers. Another twist, minus Cam Vaughn, because something tells me that Ohio has tape on him too, right?
Yeah, a lot of it.
A lot of it. Cam Vaughn had a very, very good bowl game last year against Ohio. Secrets out on him. Follow that up with week one in a new system. Ohio has to be thinking, okay, last year, last bowl game wasn't a fluke. His first game with Rich Rod at West Virginia, look what he did. So I think that Ohio's going to. I think they're really going to take a look at this receiving core and say, okay, Cam Vaughn's not beating us, right? So then who steps up? Is it Jaden Bray had 3 catches? Logan Ramper had 1 catch. Man Singleton, 1 catch. I don't believe Rodney Gallagher had a catch last week.
He had a jet sweep, no catches.
He had a jet sweep, which is actually a rush. So who steps up here, right? Because I think even though it's a little bit of a weaker side of that Ohio defense, I think they're going to be so honed in on Cam Vaughn. Maybe West Virginia goes back to the tight end position. They did have a little bit of success there. So I'll be curious to see who steps up in the West Virginia receiving corps, because somebody – I don't think you can just count on Cam Vaughn to carry you week in. Well, listen, everybody's got a number one or hopes to have a number one receiver. But when you go from 7 and 8 or even a 9-catch performance down to a 2 and 3, somebody needs to jump up into that 5 and 6 range. And I'll be curious. I think Jaden Bray has the mold to do that. But I think Ohio is really going to focus in on Cam Vaughn, and they're going to say, hey, he's not beating us. Even if we have to double team him, he is not beating us long. We've seen too much film. We know too much about him. You other new guys, who's going to step up? So somebody's going to have to do it.
Yeah, I expect they'll probably bracket a safety over on him.
I think so. Absolutely. They're not going to let – I will be shocked with as much film and homework as they have on him going back to last year and then what they saw last week. I'll be shocked. Now, listen, that's not to say Cam Vaughn won't have a good game. I think he's that talented of a player. But I think they're going to do that, and I think they're going to say somebody's going to have to step up. Who's it going to be?
Yep. And that's also when that run game as well can come into play. You know, if they can bust some runs up the middle like Rutgers did and shrink everybody into the box, bring everybody down into the box a little more. Boom,
Yeah.
Maybe then that's when and you run it, and then get kind of lull everybody to sleep, and boom, then you can hit one deep, kind of like they did last week against Robert Morris.
Yeah.
I think that'll help too. But I like the fact that you're looking. Okay, what receivers step? I think Jaden Bray is going to be.
Yeah.
He seems to me like the number 2 guy on this team based on what we saw last week, and based on everything we heard in the off season. And I mean, they sent him to media day. I mean, so that means that he had earned that, right?
Yeah.
So he apparently had a really good spring.
Yeah.
So
nobody's ever questioned Jaden Bray's talent.
Absolutely. Can he stay healthy? Has been his
Correct.
been his thing.
Correct.
So, I'm actually excited about our receiving core. I think they're really good. I'll be honest. I think they're very underrated. All right, let's jump ahead to the next topic, which is what one key West Virginia player needs to play well in this game for West Virginia to come out on top.
Couz, the player that I'm watching last week, I rolled the dice, I admit, and I went Jalen Henderson. Now, I'm not going to say that I completely struck out because even though it really wasn't throwing the football, he did add that extra amount. I mean, 2 rushes, 40 yards.
Yeah.
And because he looked really good when he hit down that sideline rushing the football.
Oh, he just seems like he has another gear that Nico doesn't. And nothing against Nico, it's just not his game.
He does.
He just has another gear.
And which is why I said earlier, I think somehow, as crazy as it sounds, that they're going to take somebody like Nico who had a really good game and give him less time. I think they have to implement in some, but I'm not going to go Jalen Henderson again. I almost didn't do this because, again, I feel like this Last week I was roll the dice. This week I'm Captain Obvious, but I might as well just kind of stick with it. I think this is a game where you see the offensive line click a little bit more and you see another steady performance. I'm going with Jaheim White. Here's why. Look, he wasn't. I think everybody kind of got caught up in it wasn't his best performance, but Couz 18 carries, 93 yards. That's just over 5 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Nothing
And
to
a really
sneeze
good
at.
PFF grade.
Absolutely. But I think with another week, I think that you're going to see though, and that was without a really a busted run. I think he had a 19-yard was his longest carry, and that was early on in the game. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they sprinkle him in a little bit out of the backfield because of what I just talked about. He only had 2 catches for 12 yards. I actually think that that's going to be maybe their counterbalance to them Ohio trying to cover Cam Vaughn a little bit. It's not really outside of the box. I'm not breaking any news here, and I'm probably not surprising anybody. But I think this week is when we see maybe a $150 on the rushing and maybe 50, 60 yards receiving. So I'll go Jaheim White.
Okay. I like it. I like it. Mine, I struggled with this one, man, because there were
Me
so many
too.
guys I could have went with. I had one name, then nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. But here's what I came up with, and it's hard for me to narrow it down to one guy.
Yep.
So I'm going to say I'm going to say Edward Vesteranen and Eddie Kelly, or or Devin Grant, whoever's playing at the end of the defensive line. It could even be the edge rusher,
Okay.
whoever's playing. But those guys also have to drop back in coverage and stuff. So, but the players that have to set the edge and keep Parker Navarro in the pocket. That's
Okay.
who I think that was my number one key was containing him. You cannot let him. They do a lot of design runs with him, and most of the time, the design runs with him are outside the edge. I was looking through the PFF numbers. I don't have them right in front of me, but majority of his design runs are on the edge. They don't do a ton of design runs for him up the middle. They will occasionally, but it's usually around the edge. So you've got to watch for that, and he'll do it. It's that read option, right?
Yep.
As soon as you crash, boom, he's gone. You got to be disciplined. Set the edge. Don't bite. Make him hand that ball to the running back, because I feel like West Virginia has a better chance with the running back. And not that Bongureau's a bad running back. He had 80 some yards rushing in his own right on 16
Yeah.
carries. He's not bad at all. But I would rather him have the football than Parker Navarro
Sure.
have the football, to be honest with you. And I trust guys like Chase Wilson and Reed Carrico to come up and fill the gap in the middle and take care of that.
Yep.
But man, if he gets on the edge and gets on the outside, he's going to get yards.
Oh.
And so you've got whoever's playing the edge, Eddie Kelly, Devin Grant had himself a pretty good game. Eddie Vesteranen, even if it's up to your to your Braden Siderses and your Curtis Jones, whoever it is. I had a really hard time coming up to one key guy because there are so many of those guys that play those positions, and they like to I mean, Curtis Jones and Braden Siders played almost the same number of snaps in the game at that bandit position. So I don't know, man. I can't really pick one, but just all of your edge defenders have to contain him and keep him in the pocket, keep him inside the tackle box.
How about the big D line getting a little love from Couz? I like it.
Right, baby.
I like it. I think too many times we just think offensive skill set, but when you look back at a game, these are the type guys that make the difference for you. Boy, it'd be nice to have Jamori Robinson.
Boy, it would, and
this
Coach Rod said any day or two, but
I just don't see that happening.
Nah.
But I completely agree with you. I feel like somebody off that defensive side of the ball. That's a great great pick.
I kind of cheated because I didn't pick one name, but I didn't know how.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they end up winning the defense, if they ended up kind of being the player of the game, we're going to put an asterisk behind it because I picked one, you picked four. I don't know how fair that is. I mean,
I might as well just say I could have just named. I mean, where's the depth chart? I'm gonna read off the entire defense.
Sneak peek to next week. I want Nico. I want Jaheim. I want Cam Vaughn. I want Grayson Vaughn. No, I love it. I love it. because the truth is, it may not be just one guy. I know this segment's one key player, but it could just be one
One
key
key
position.
position. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I love it. Kind of disappointed I didn't think of it, but I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah, I just thought it tied right in. I mean, if I got one key to victory, right? At least for this week, I thought these two. I think that key is to me that key is so critical
Yeah.
that you got to look at the players who are performing and having to have success
Yeah.
with that key, right?
Well, and you're not going to shut down Parker Navarro with just one player all night
No,
long.
absolutely
Not
not.
all night long. So you're going to need three or four of those guys to come in and cycle through. So, yeah,
I
great
should
pick.
have just went and said Zach Alley was my key, really, but I
Could have not a player, but could have fit. Could have
yeah,
fit.
we've done
Yeah,
it before. We've done it before.
we have.
Game on. Week 1 of the NFL season starts right now, and heck, for college football fans, we're already into week 2 of the season. And every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Right now, if you want to place a bet on any game, you can do so at DraftKings Sportsbook. For example, if you want to place a bet on the West Virginia Ohio game, which right now sits with West Virginia favored at -3.5, you can do that. And by the way, lines are subject to change and odds are subject to change. For new customers, this one's for you. You bet just $5 and get 300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code COUZ, that's code COUZ, to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more. Plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Do you have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void on Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. All right, let's go to the fun part. Right now, over at DraftKings, and all lines are subject to change, but DraftKings has West Virginia at -3.5. So, not a very big spread for
Mm,
a game against a MAC team, right? Even though
yep.
it's in their stadium, you would think the spread would be a little more than 3.5 against a MAC team. So, hopefully, West Virginia is going to use that as motivation. But I'm going to go ahead and let you give me your prediction for this one, Jonathan, first.
Yeah, well, I will say that crazy enough, because I trust Vegas, I actually think this game is probably going to be, for all the reasons we've talked about here, I actually think this game is going to be a little bit closer than what a lot of people think. I see a lot of people saying they're going to roll in there, take care of business, and I think Ohio is just talented enough to be in the game. I'm actually going to go West Virginia 34, Ohio 24. But I think the caveat there, because I feel like I'm the king of just with a little twist tonight, I like that line of -3.5, but I think West Virginia gets a late score to seal this up. So even though I've got them winning by 10, 34-24, I think it is close. But I think West Virginia gets a score late, 34-24, West Virginia.
Dang, we're close, man. Mine is 34-21. I think
Ooh, ooh,
if Rutgers can put up 34 on them, then I have faith that West Virginia can. Number one. Two, the 21, I really, really like this defense. I think last weekend, even though it was an FCS opponent, I think they showed us a lot, man. They swarm to the football. They're aggressive. They have a lot of individual talent. with Fred Perry and Chase Wilson and Reed Carrico, man. How about Reed Carrico stepping up and playing good football?
Yeah.
A lot of senior leadership on that side of the ball. I love Zach Alley. He's gonna show a lot of different looks than he showed last week to try to confuse Navarro. I do think Navarro has a decent day and will have a couple. He'll obviously have 3 scores, whether it be through there or on the ground. But I just don't think he's going to be able to have the same levels of success against West Virginia that he had against Rutgers, because I just think this West Virginia defense is going to keep him guessing too much. And
Yeah.
I just I like them, and I think West Virginia's offense, like you said, I think they pull away late because of the tempo. I think Ohio's defense is eventually going to get worn down, and West Virginia will put up, couple scores in the fourth quarter to pull away and win it 34-21.
Yeah. So we're close. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think, and I agree with you on the Rutgers scoring 34. So I kind of wanted to judge that. I kind of, it was interesting when you looked at Rutgers and Ohio last week. It was pretty even through the first quarter. I think it was 7-7. But Rutgers scored 24 points in the second quarter, and they really kind of turned that on. Now, Ohio ended up winning the third quarter 14-0, so the momentum kind of shifted again. So be curious to see how the game plays out. I do think going on the road, I don't see West Virginia putting up 45, 48, 52. I don't see that. So I like that line at 3.5. I just think West Virginia gets something late. So, yeah, we're pretty close.
Yeah. And two, Rutgers actually scored a touchdown on a punt block too. So their offense actually only scored 27.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I just think I like West Virginia's offense. If they can, if they do one of your keys is take care of the football, I just don't think Ohio is going to stop them. I really don't. And I'll be honest with you. If they only score 34, it probably means they had a turnover or two. I'll be honest. I just don't. I think that offense has a potential to score a lot more than 34 points.
Yeah.
Especially at the pace they like to play. But again, because it's on the road, I think Ohio will get some stops, and play pretty well in their own stadium. They're going to have a lot of people there. The crowd's behind them. They're going to be amped up for this one. I know they got Ohio State next week, but they're not playing Ohio State in their house, man. They got a chance to do something pretty cool. They can beat a Power 4 opponent in their yard. They don't get to do that very often.
No. Let me ask you a question. I had this conversation. I'm going to throw. You usually throw the wrenches at me. I'm going to throw you one.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. But go ahead.
Would you rather play Ohio this week, coming off a loss? Would you rather them beat Rutgers, or does it not even matter? There's a lot of there's a lot of conversation here, Couz, that I'm seeing a lot of people say it doesn't matter. I'm seeing some people say, man, I actually wish they would have beat Rutgers. Maybe they felt a little bit bigger about themselves than they really are. But then I'm having some people say, this is worst case scenario because you're going to get the ticked off version of Ohio because they felt like they should have beat a Big Ten team with a Big 12 team coming in. Or where do you find yourself on that?
That's a great question because I'll be honest, I have not given it 1 ounce of thought.
Well, I'll tell you, while you're thinking, let me tell you where I'm at. Okay. I don't know that once the ball kicks, I don't think it matters.
That's where I lean. That's why I'm leaning that way too.
Put me in the don't think it's a big deal.
Think it matters.
I think that once that ball was kicked and that offense and that defense line up against each other, I don't think Ohio is sitting here saying, I'm coming for you because we lost to Rutgers last week. I just don't see that. I think there's scenarios when people are backs against the wall and maybe I just don't see that in week 2. So I fall under I don't know that it matters, but I was curious to get your thoughts on it.
I'm 100% in agreement with you because I just don't think their motivation is going to be beating West Virginia in our yard, in our own stadium. That's all they need is motivation to me. We've got a Power 4 team that's only a few hours down the road from us coming into our stadium, buying up our tickets. By gosh, we're going to show them, right? We're going to go out here and beat them. I think that's all they need. the culture in that program is awesome at Ohio. I don't think they need to use that as motivation. I mean, obviously, what I said as motivation is something anybody would use, but I just don't think. I think they're mature enough to move past last week's game, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, and same thing on the West Virginia side. A lot of the senior laden guys, they're not going to worry about it either. I mean, I think they're going to treat this like just another game, a chance to go out and
Yeah.
prove themselves. Rich Rod keeps the competitive nature, the competitive spirit in that locker room up all the time by keeping these guys competing for roster spot, or for snaps. So they're
Yeah.
going to go out and want to prove themselves. And
Yeah.
we've heard Zach Alley talk about you want playing time, you go earn it. That's how
Yeah.
you earn playing time. And those guys are going to. I think West Virginia's going to have. They're going to play with a chip on their shoulder pretty much every single week, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because I
Can
think
I?
that's the culture of the team.
Yeah. Can I ask you one more?
Yep.
Uh, Sold out crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Athens, Ohio, a couple hours away. Not even
Yep.
that for a lot of people. What percentage of the crowd is West Virginia?
I'm going to say 40.
Okay. I would have thought it was a little higher.
Yeah, I'm going to
Am,
say 40. I
am
think
I crazy? Am I crazy to say that I thought it would be about 60?
no, it's not crazy. I just don't. I know several years ago, I guess it was it would have been the 22 Pitt game at Pitt. There was this thing. Well, West Virginia had half the stadium. I was there. That wasn't true. Okay. Now, West Virginia had a huge percentage of the fan base. Don't get me wrong. It was for an away game. You'll likely never see that many fans in a game typically, but it wasn't 40, 50%. It was probably more like 25, 30%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, most of the lower bowl was majority of Pitt fans. Was majority Pitt fans rather. So I just I think that what I'm getting at is I think a lot of times those numbers get kind of misconstrued a little bit by the fan base who's trying to brag about it.
Yeah.
And I think realistically, it'll probably be more like 40%, which is still a huge number for an away team.
Yeah. Small stadium. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a high percentage. I would have went a little bit more just because, with all due respect to Ohio, a little bit smaller crowd, a little bit smaller following fan base. West Virginia travels well. It's so close,
Yeah.
and I think because West Virginia tickets are so hard to come by this year with Rich Rod, that they were capitalizing on the opportunity to drive just over the line
Yeah.
to Athens, Ohio. Um, admittedly, 60 is a high number, but I do think if you could even get in that 40%, that's it's
Yeah.
and let's be honest, that's going to be if it's 40 or 30 or even a 50. It's going to be a loud 40%
Oh yeah, definitely.
for West Virginia. So I'll be curious when we revert back to this part of it next week.
Yeah.
What that
Yeah.
potentially
I
ended
wouldn't be
up being.
shocked if it's more, but I just don't. I'm expecting Ohio fans to show up for this one.
That was
I
a
think they'll
hot
be excited.
ticket on third party too.
It was. It was. I looked at the prices. It was triple. It was in over $100
Yeah,
for a ticket.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but all right. Well, listen. I'm done, Jonathan. You got anything else you want to say to the fine folks out there?
I'm good. I'm not looking. Rodriguez is not going to catch me looking past Ohio.
Me either.
Having said that, I cannot wait until Backyard Brawl edition of
Me
Gold Blue
either.
Breakdown.
Me either, man. I'm trying not to leave. I'm trying not to even think about it because I want to enjoy this one.
Yep.
But yeah. But anyway, shout out again to Appalachia Digital, who thank them for supporting us here on the show and over at the website, wvsportschat.com. Go check out their work. Go to appalachiadigital.com/Couz. If you need a new website, if you need to upgrade your current website, they're the folks you need to reach out to. They did a great job on our site over at WV Sports Chat. Please come check out our work over there. We would really appreciate it. Check us out on social media at WV Sports Chat on Twitter, on Facebook. Pretty much, I guess that's where you'll find us at primarily.
Yep.
You can find me at Couz206 on X. You can find Jonathan at Jonathan K. Martin. It's Jonathan Jonathan, not John.
Yep.
For those listening. And just come check us out. Follow us. Give us a like. Give us a follow if you're listening. Give us a 5-star review if you're listening to this on podcast platform. any support you can give us, we would appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. Go Mountaineers, Q Country Roads.